Okay, before we practice reading some sounds, I'd like to talk about the letters N and G and what happens when they're together. So we're going to practice these sounds, but I just wanted to point out N and G. So when I was working on preparing your lessons for this week in your practice materials, I came across a couple of explanations that talked about N and G and talked about how when they come at the end of a word, they're often called cemented letters because when you're sounding them out and you're reading the word, you're not reading ng, but you're reading them together in a nasal sound that sounds like like it comes with sing or rang. We don't say sing or rang. So the G kind of helps the N become more nasal. So it's not just an N by itself, but it's like an ng. So I don't know if you feel when you say ing, you feel your tongue hit the top of your mouth when you're saying that N and G together. It becomes kind of a more nasal sound with the vowel that it's working with. So when we do our sound practice on here, when you're going to say the ng sound, that's just how you're going to say it. You're not going to say ng, you're going to say ng. So let me do the first two with you, and then we'll go through and read the sounds on the chart to get ready to do then some whole word reading practice with these sounds and others. So, sound, I should say, my turn. Sound, ng. Sound, ah. Your turn. Sound, 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 sound. All right, so I hope that every time you got to this NG cemented together, that you put that sound together in your mouth and you said ng, ng. All right, let's try practicing reading some words. All right, so if you came upon this word, and we were sitting in class and I said, all right, so sound this out. What I would want you to remember to do would be to think in your head, all right? So you're thinking of the sounds in your head. W, I, ng. And then if we blended it and said the word out loud, we would get wing, right? I'm not going to say wing because I'm not saying w, I, ng. And the reason I wanted to practice this with you this week was because sometimes when we're reading and we come upon a word with the NG working together in it, one of the things that you sometimes stop and do is sound out both of those letters. But when we're reading, we don't really separate those letters. Like I said, they work together to make the ng sound. And that's something that would be really good to practice and work on remembering, that we don't ever break those two letters up when we're reading, because it'll slow you down. You don't really need to stop and break those parts, those two apart into their own sounds. Just remember that when you see NG together, they make that ng sound. And then, like we practiced in the card pack, they work with a short vowel to make a group of sounds that form a word family, that if you just change the beginning, you'll know a whole bunch of different words in the same family, like the ang family, the ing family, the ong family, and the ung family. All right, so I'd like to make a short list for us to practice. So here's a short list for practicing. As you can see, every single one of the words ends with that ng sound because I'd really like you to get used to practicing reading that. And I stuck with all short vowels in the words because the point isn't to be tricky. I just want you to practice seeing the pattern and recognizing it right away, and then hearing that word inside your head as you're thinking about the sounds, and then saying the correct word out loud. So let's practice. I'll show you how to do the first two words, and then I'll go back to the beginning and let you work through the entire list while following my prompts. So, word, string, word, lung. Your turn. Word, 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 word. So what you should have read were string, lung, gong, fling, rang, and swung. So the only one on here that you should have heard me making the G sound, g, would be for gong right there at the beginning. That's the only place we should have been saying g when we were reading these. All right, I hope that this is helpful to you in working on practicing noticing those patterns in words and using them to become stronger and stronger readers.